Good afternoon, everyone. Um, I'm here to talk about the ending of the Ender Games and possibly the overall story of the Ender Games. Um, Ender, who's just been strictly isolated and treated, I think, just inhumanely at some points, um, is faced with this fact of he's a murderer, and he's not. That he is overly passive at times, and he's not. But in reality, he's actually between both his sister Valentine, who is very passive, and his brother Peter, who is overly aggressive, and he is in the middle. He's this. His personality is like bipolar. He can go either way. So this idea that he believes this, and that adults who are often seen as the truth makers or the truth behind everything they say are actually liars or actually manipulators. And he soon realizes that they are lying to him in ways in which uh, he doesn't believe adults should, or that he, as a child, should even go through. And it's seen multiple ways. However, um, Ender as a whole is a person who wants to help others. And that's seen throughout numerous chapters of the story. However, he is often placed in this world where he's isolated. He's behind closed doors, having to make decisions on his own with the help that they give him, but usually the help that is given to him by the adults, such as Colonel Graff and the IF and those who are involved, they usually strip it away from him. If they see that he's getting too good, he's getting too comfortable, then they put him back in isolation. They put him in a more difficult situation where he's having to fend for himself, and they know that that's his weak spot, so they continuously put him in that weak spot in order for him to become stronger. And this person of really not even caring of who he is, what he is, but at the end of the day, all they care about is that he wins this victory against the buggers. Now, what makes this story so crazy, beyond all of the crap that has happened, is they conceal the fact that he has killed actually two people since he has one on Earth, which was Steinman. He killed him. Okay, this when he still had the monitor. Well, when they took the monitor out, and then when he was up in battle school, he killed Bonzo. Yet he had no idea that he had killed these people until the end, when he finally realizes that this whole virtual game that he thought was a game was actually not a game. It was the real thing. He, from the beginning, at the age of 6, was commanding and giving strategies to kill buggers, these evil people or these evil creatures who shouldn't exist, pretty much. Um, this idea that Card gives in using Ender and using Valentine and using Peter and using adults as a whole, this division between adulthood and childhood really sparks a chord in this idea of how adults look at children as a whole and how they dictate to children what they need to do and believe that children are not, I should say, smart enough or are not clever enough to read in between the lines. So they lie to them often, and um, this is exactly what is done to Ender, and he realizes it slowly, slowly, very slowly. He's not uh, knowing this from the get go that they're lying to him. He's believing that he's doing something for the common good, but then he also knows that he's not a killer. He doesn't want to kill people. He want to befriend people. He don't want to be an enemy. He don't want to dictate to people what to do. But that's his job. That's the job that he has pretty much signed to because he's been manipulated by the adult, specifically Colonel Graff, in this idea of well, if you don't come and help us out, then you will fail mankind. And at any rate, most people would, it's this idea of life and death. So that's pretty much what was brought to him, and he went along with it. But he had a lot of trials and tribulations that he had to go through. But finally, he realizes as he matures, age wise and mentally a little bit, that this is all a propaganda. Um, and he knew a little bit about it before they told him that he was actually fighting the real battle. But he didn't. Now he did not know that he was fighting the real battle, but um, he had some type of idea that someone right in what they were telling him. So finally, when they come out and he wins this victory against the buggers, um, everyone, all the adults, Graf and Anderson and others are happy that he has won his victory for them. But he's not happy because at the end of the day, that wasn't in his eyeballs. That wasn't for you. This was just a game. This is just something that I had to do, because in reality he wants to go home. He wants to be done with all of this. He's tired of it. However, when he realizes that he has actually killed 5 billion people, including children and those who are innocent, that just takes a toll on him as a whole. Because this is not who he is. This is not who he was born to be. However, this reality has put it that this is who he is and this is what he was born to be. Um, his sister Valentine is a key part, a key essential structure for him. Without her, Ender would go completely crazy, and I don't think he would care about too much of anything. But she's able to wheel him in and get him to think rational during his most irrational moments, and get him to uh, understand the things that are going on. And when she meets him when they are older, she lets them know, she lets Ender know that Peter has taken over. Locke, Demosthenes is dead, doesn't exist, he's gone. They don't nobody care about Demosthenes. Locke now is in control because his overall idea is that after the Bugger war is going to start between the Russians and the Americans on Earth, and that's exactly what happened. However, Locke won. Of course, that's being Peter. That was his whole scheme. That once everybody started fighting and the Americans won, or there was a truce, then he would come in as Locke as this overall well-being for the people, and he wasn't. He just wanted the power. And she, who Valentine, who played Demosthenes, let Ender know what Peter' overall objective was, which was to rule the world. So now um, she did what she did with Demosthenes and given up because if Ender was to go back on Earth, he would be under the power of Peter, meaning that he would be going through the same stuff that he did when he was 6. And who knows now that he has gone through all this crap as a killer, and now he believes that he really is. He probably would have killed Peter if things became, let me just put it this way, if things became overbearing to the point where where Ender believes that he's now has to be on defense. So as a whole, Valentine is a key part in Ender's life, and he loves her to death. And toward the end, um, they go off to another planet. He's now like the head chief or whatever. He's like the judge of things, um, and he's able to connect with the buggers. Um, he understands them. No one else can understand him like Ender. And Ender often understands the buggers, and he soon comes to this idea that the buggers are not what people claim them to be. Yes, they attacked them. Uh, that was out of spite, but at the end of the day, they were still human. They still had human characteristics such as love for their family. They had the land in which they lived was very much like Earth, and cultivating the land and things like that. And he soon realizes this, and he comes upon himself that the queen, who When she's dead, everybody's dead. You know, she's the head ruler, and when she's gone, everybody's gone as far as the bug is concerned. She is the one who's the breadwinner. She's the housekeeper. She's the mother. She's everything. And he soon realizes that the two sisters before had a feud, and things didn't go so well. However, they gave Ender a message, as in they were not trying to harm them in any kind of way when they attacked them, but they would apologize. And we as humans, even in everyday life, we go through things where we feel that people are against us for the common for 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 no reason at all. And most times it is, but sometimes it's a life lesson. And this is something that Ender is learning. He's learning life lessons, and he wants to now commemorate the buggers for future generations, so that this idea of, hey, the buggers were rude people, they were mean, they just want to come back and they're going to kill us, and they're just these evil people. He wanted to get rid of that shadow. He wanted to start a clean slate, and the future generations to come, he wanted them to be able to understand that the buggers were just humans. They made a mistake, and at the end of the day, they learned from their mistakes, and they wanted truth. And this is the idea of the speaker for the dead. And even in society today, we have speakers for the dead. You know, either they can be preachers for funerals, or just siblings or loved ones who speak on those who have died, who they love, and they tell good things about those people outside of all the bad or negativity that person may have done. At the end of the day, this is a time in which people and everything that people, when they come together, everyone is one. Everyone is in this idea of they were good people at the end of the day. We're all human, we make mistakes, but at the end of the day, they did try to come together as one and make some type of truce and some type of petition as to let's end all this mess, let's be friends, let's just move on. And that's something that Ender definitely um, wants people to know about the buggers. And you can relate this a lot to life. And this idea, as I'm reading here, you know, how do we speak for our own dead? And that's pretty self-explanatory. We speak for those who are gone from us physically, but we still spiritually keep them in our hearts because they mean a lot to us. We don't want to let that this idea of their soul and what they really meant to us just die off, because at the end of the day, we will have nothing to fall back on. There will be no history if it was not speakers for the dead, for anyone. I mean, Hitler, all these people that we claim are very harmful people, Osama bin Laden, at the end of the day, they still had speakers for the dead, because at the end of the day, they could have been bad people, whatever, but at the end of the day, they still had speakers for the dead who spoke highly of whatever they did. And of all the negativity, there had to be some positive that someone got from it. So it really don't matter if it's negative or positive. Having a speaker for the dead just means that you commemorating that person and what they stood for. Um, and this idea of why, I mean, it's self-explanatory. Why do we do it? Exactly what I stated before. It's just keeping that bond. We must keep bonds, even though those who are not with us, we must still keep some type of bond with them, commemorating their lives every year, during their birthday, or going to see their grave, or having a national holiday. I mean, think of President's Day. Think of all these holidays that we have. Christmas, you know, is to commemorate, is to remember. Martin Luther King Jr., we must have these in order to keep even the future generations alive and educated on what is going on, what has happened in the past, which could be their key or an answer to their question that they may have in the future as to why the world it is, as to why the world is what it is. So at the end of the day, this idea of speaking for the dead really hit home for me when I read it, because it made a lot of sense, and I just had so much respect for Ender, who's now older, who even through all the bad mess that his brother put him through. At the age of 77, when Peter dies, Ender is the speaker for him. And this shows massive maturity for Ender. And I just think that, you know, although the adults lied to him and they were very manipulative and they held a lot back, at the end of the day, they taught Ender lifelong lessons that he can take with him for the rest of his life to come. Um, and it's already good that Ender had his own mind, so he was never easily manipulated. But at the end of the day, when times were tough, he was able to bounce back and become a true leader. He was a true leader, just like we would consider true leaders in society today. Um, so as a whole, while you know trials and tribulations for a child should have happened to him like it did in this book, it happens in reality. But we often see at times that sometimes it takes trials and tribulations that makes us better people in the future. And this is seen through Ender. This is seen through Valentine. This is seen even through Peter, who whose life, he's evil. He's claimed as evil, but deep down inside he has a soft spot. And everyone deep down inside has a soft spot. Everyone is not just evil. You know, there's reasons why people react the way they do. And um, that could be any known reason. We don't know. But at the end of the day, we all are human. We all make mistakes. But just as Ender proven in a book, had proved in the book, it's about forgiving, not forgetting, but forgiving and moving on so that we can become a better people, a better community, and a better planet, in his case, for the future generations to come. So at the end of the day, Ender is now this king to the rest of the world because of his 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 heroism and his mentality. This makes him a king, and he rules even above Raph, above all of them. Although I will say, his teacher, who was the leader or the hero during the first and second invasion, Mazza, is a key component in this whole story because it's because of Mazza that Ender learns how to cope with a lot of things and learns more about himself. Uh, and it's just phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. So now that Ender has graduated from um, battle school and command school until he's been a commander, but now that he's head in charge, now he's able to lead himself as well as others in the right path. And that was his overall idea as a whole. So, Ender, at the end of the day, Ender Game, the book, Scott Orson Scott Card did a wonderful job in explaining this idea between childhood and adulthood, evil versus kind, and how we as people must be in the middle in order to survive in this life. We must be evil at times. We have to be evil at times, and we have to be kind because it's what makes up mankind. It's what makes us who we are today. So, as a whole, I end with this idea that I wish that life, people were more like Ender to a certain degree. Um, but at the end of the day, it takes us all to think rationally and think cognitively, thinking of ways in which we can improve ourselves. Um, because as a whole, we should never, ever have this idea where we feel that we are conquered or we are overcome by things that goes on in society. We should already be prepared for it. And this is what colonial graph. This is what the IF. This is what all the adults are doing. They're just giving him early start to life and what he is and what life is really about. So, um, I say to Ender, more power to you. And he, he's a phenomenal character. And I really, really